mean, prior to this, have you had any like 3D experience at all?
Just playing video games, watching, cinematics in World of Warcraft, going, how do you make this? Like, this is incredible. I mean, I've always been creative, I would say for sure. I found an Unreal Sensei video about, making a little house in the forest, and a year later, I'm doing work regularly in this and talking with people like you, and it's crazy. Crazy. Really quiet in my house too. My kids are either very well behaved right now or something's horribly wrong. We'll find out shortly. Yeah, my name is Connor Buchanan. I go by Mortal Shores on YouTube and social media. I'm a 3D artist. I focus on filmmaking as cinema kind of being a big passion of mine, and 3D being a avenue that I've learned and found that helps me bring my ideas from conception to reality.
Connor, it's really nice to meet you and really appreciate your time today.
You too, man. I appreciate you bringing me on here. It's exciting. I'm sorry. Can you give me 1 second?
Hey, Connor.
Sorry about that, man.
Hey, no problem at all. How many kids have you got?
I got 4 kids.
And you got an RTX Quadro in the corner. I'm just being extra nosy.
Oh, yeah, of course.
So I'm sure that's
all meticulously placed, right?
Yeah. I'm sure that's lended itself to some of your amazing projects that you've been working on.
Yeah. I started everything out on the RTX 2060, which I mean, to this day, I would say is like still enough. I don't really have a background in any CG specifically. I mean, I've always been creative, I would say for sure, drawing, music and things like that. But prior to learning Unreal Engine 5, which is what I use and have used the last year, you have an idea, you put it down on a piece of paper. As an artist, to a small degree, it's like I couldn't really portray everything that I was thinking just on paper. Well, about a year ago, scrolling through YouTube, I was stay-home dad, formerly a nuclear field engineer in nuclear construction. My wife and I kind of just moved, and I was staying home with the kids while we were just kind of figuring things out. And I found an Unreal Sensei video about making a little house in the forest, and that was it, man. 5 hours of that tutorial, and then the next tutorial, and the next tutorial, and then I started to build a project. And a year later, I'm doing work regularly in this and talking with people like you, and it's crazy. Cool. Crazy.
I mean, prior to this, have you had any like 3D experience at all before this?
Just playing video games and watching cinematics in World of Warcraft, going, how do you make these? Like, this is incredible.
Very impressive. Today we're going to talk about, I guess we could start talking about the Mage first.
Yeah. That's so that one is a good example of a completed project, which is a rare beast to find on my side of things, because I am a serial project starter, just by nature of like wanting to get ideas out, and then my nature of hyperfixation.
Picking up a project like this, and you've got an idea for yourself, Connor. How do you what's the starting process? Is it the idea to storyboards? Do you write a script? Let's just take you all back to like the start of a project like this. How does it begin for you? And
probably the least. I mean, maybe not the least traditional.
That's fine. We want everyone's thing is different. We just want if it's not a traditional way of doing it, that's all good. Your way.
I'm really figuring it out and trying new things each time. The way for me that's worked the best as far as getting shots down that I can execute really is just kind of like a stream of consciousness, if you will, where I have the pen open and I just try to imagine in my head how I would have seen this scene that I have an idea for, and really just a general idea of Mage. And it really is just a wave of typing going in there, and it's just bullet points. So I've done that twice now, where I feel like I don't know, maybe it's just my thing where it really works out well for me. And it's not a storyboard, there's no visual aspect to it, but I try to be as descriptive in those bullet points that I'm writing down, going through these kind of shots in my head.
What about like world building? Is it straight up assets from marketplace? How do you sort of gather your assets? And what was the inspiration for this like theme and things like that? How did you come about that for the Mage?
For the Mage, I just watched Avatar. I think I was watching Avatar, kind of like preparing for Avatar 2. And there's a scene in Avatar where they're coming to meet the Na'vi are coming to meet the humans, and there's like a horse gallop. And I'm in a big phase, other than fantasy itself being kind of my focus. If you couldn't tell from the work. But anyways, I saw the scene in Avatar where there a line of horses charging the woods. I was like, I need to try that. I need to like put out some characters, try to get, a bunch of them charging in the forest. Obviously it didn't end up that way because we have a, kind of a one-on-one in the Mage. But that was the inspiration for it. I knew I wanted a forest. And that was I think it's Maui, Mawi, the company that makes the conifer forest. And I went into that one and played around with the landscape and their foliage tools and found a setup that I liked that would work for that scene. Again, didn't end up as, a gallop of 20 horses into battle, but it was that's where the inspiration came from initially. The Megascans are definitely the bread and butter of it. There's environments I do use, or aspects of environments that I do use, and assets within them, but I'd say 80% of what the worlds that I create are using Megascan surfaces with displacement and through the modeling tools inside of UE. And then the tree the tree black arbor trees and European hornbeam and all the foliage. It's just you have so much available to you. I haven't run into anything yet that I haven't been able to recreate or create in the first place.
And how about sort of like animations and stuff? Where do you source your anim clips, or did you do any like custom bespoke animations inside of Unreal Engine with like control rigs and stuff? Mocap, yes. I presume.
So a little bit of everything. I'm in an endless search for a feasible like indie mocap solution at home, and probably research it every day and have for the last 6 months. But my work, especially with the Mage and everything, is typically a combination of Mixamo, Real Illusion, Actor Core samples, or animations that I'll bring into Unreal and usually modify pretty heavily with Control Rig. I really deal with metahumans the most because the fact that they exist, they're free. It's the customization on them, especially with the mesh to metahuman upgrade and just the fidelity of them. I love working with them. I feel like I've got a really good handle on it. So I stick with them, and the control rigs on them are fantastic with the IK capabilities. So taking a series of Mixamo animations or some marketplace assets for, the Mages specifically, there's assets I got from there for animation that are just move around with the IK rig typically in relation to whatever the interaction the scene is. And you really, with enough curve editing and, kind of meticulous keyframing and subtractive or additive backwards solving animation tracks and everything. It's really, it's hard to match the fluidity of and realism of mocap, but you get pretty damn close.
Which was the first project that you created in Unreal?
So it's a project that's kind of on the back burner now.
Is it the Banesbreach one?
Banesbreach, yeah, Banesbreach.
Banesbreach. Oh, okay,
yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah, that was it was a project that I definitely bit off more than I could chew.
Well, that's got characters and metahumans and facial and a lot of stuff going on for sure. So yeah, you've definitely jumped into the deep end, Connor. But I mean, that's the way you learn how to swim, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And it's something I will finish. Within the next year, I will. Granted, I don't have any unexpected, big projects or anything come up outside of personal stuff. But yeah, I was so I kind of work in a linear fashion. That's the beauty of Unreal is you're compared to physical cinema and filmmaking. So you're working with efficiency and trying to make sure you got to shoot the end of the movie and the beginning of the movie at the same time. It's like you better have it all figured out, because if you're in the same location or whatever, same actors, Like you've got to get it done at the same time. Unreal, it's just a matter of opening scene files and characters. So for somebody like me who changes the plot and the context of the scenes and things as I go, working in a linear fashion is kind of still how I work for the most part, unless I have a really good idea or good handle on what a certain scene, maybe towards the end of whatever the project is, what that looks like, and I want to jump into it right away. I work linearly. So with Banesbreach, I had a great idea, and then I started chipping away at it, and I said, at this rate, I'll be able to finish this time, which I believe was winter, pretty much a month ago or so, and that was the rate at which I was able to do it. Definitely exponentially got slower with the more involved I got with animating, and the higher I put my own standards for facial animation and stuff. So I had to kind of push that back to be able to start other stuff too. But yeah, like you said, I put everything in there that I was excited to use in Unreal facial animation and custom metahuman characters and marvelous designer clothing and all this stuff. And that was a lot for a first project.
You would not think that yourself has been working in 3D and Unreal Engine for around a year's time. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah. I try to avoid the whole I've only been doing it for a year, because it seems, with the internet and everything, it's like, I'm sure people kind of, maybe aren't super honest about how long they've been doing things, try to impress people with the time they've spent on whatever to appear. I am very proud of
it's incredible
in a year. And my wife has been super encouraging through the whole process, because, like I said, this all started when I was just stay-home dad doing this as a hobby. And for something like this, and for how far I've gotten so far, I mean, it's been a lot of time. So, it's a balance of being a dad and a husband, and now, working on personal projects. But I put a crap ton of time into this.
When do you find time? I know you've got a busy life. You've got a family. You've got 4 kids. And things. How have you found over the year just balancing all that out? Do you get locked away till 4 a.m. in the zone doing like an hour at a time, or when do you find the time?
It's a lot less sleep than probably the average person, which I was already used to. I'm sure I'll regret that at some point, it'll catch up to me, but I'm like a 4 to 5 hour a night person, and waking up early with the kids. So I have to, I don't get the window maybe between 7 and 9 where there's, some peace and quiet in the morning. You can kind of do your own stuff. So my most creative time is around when people go to bed, and when I go to bed. So 12 to 4. And like I said, my wife has been super supportive. So outside of just late nights chipping away at this stuff, it's not the same as when if I had said, hey, babe, I want to go play some video games, it's working in 3D. She understood pretty early on after seeing my stuff that it was kind of moving from a hobby to a potential career. So I credit to her. She allows me to, work away at the stuff maybe when otherwise we'd be doing things together, or we'd be taking on kids stuff together, handling kids and doing activities with them. So while she's, also working, she's stepped in to do that and has given me time outside of just those late night hours to work away. So really, whenever I can get the time.
Great to have that support, and it shows, man. You've got a lot done. So fair play, Connor. How did you go about camera work? Was there any fancy kind of handheld stuff, or is it all keyframed cameras? And how did you go about finding your shots? You've probably got a load of tossed away like shots that are like, that was good at the start, but you've got like 100 throwaway shots that didn't make the cut.
There's always 6 variations of every shot, because
of course.
It's the like duality of Unreal or virtual cameras maybe in general, and then real-time rendering is like, this shot looks fantastic, but it also looks really cool from here, and then you throw in a Dutch angle or you sweep around to the other side, and you've got 6 variations of a shot. And I think part of it is picking my favorite. Part of it is sometimes you just end up on the last iteration and you commit to it at that point. But the Mage specifically was, and I'm by no means am drawing any comparisons, but Steven Spielberg from things I've read, it typically is a director who goes through storyboards in the process, and then essentially doesn't use them at really in the directing phase and the actual filming set. And when I heard that for the first time, I felt a lot of relief, because I was like, I really don't use storyboards either. Even if I'm drawing them out, it's like the quickness that I move away from them and onto just reactionary filmmaking, I guess.
Was there anything on that project that was just a pain in the ass to do? Or do you remember anything that was like, that was a bitch, man?
Yeah. And it's in there. If you look closely, it's one of those things that I had to just decide to move on with, to get it done. And really, I looked into fixes for it, and it just wasn't going to be worth the time to invest into it to actually resolve it. But if you look closely at some of the scenes, you'll see the head floats off the body a little bit. It is my typical workflow process with characters will be metahumans, either with closed design in Marvelous Designer and simulated real time, or pre-rendered out as cloth simulations, or you take a 3D asset from Marketplace, CG Trader, Turbo Squid, Sketchfab, and you actually attach the metahuman head to it, so you get the full facial rig and the quality. And that thing would not stay on the body for the life of me. I've done it a lot with different characters. Some work great, some don't. That one, and especially with the hood on top of his head too, getting that to stop, not clip through and things like that is really tough. And that head, especially in those scenes where he's moving, he's doing his incantation and spell casting, a lot of neck movement and moving around. Gotcha. You'll notice the neck begins to separate.
I've noticed it. I've noticed it now. I've watched it back and looked at that, bit
you
of
didn't
the
notice
jaw.
it before.
I didn't notice it before, and I've watched it a few times. But now I can see it. It's only like
huge pain in the ass.
I mean, time's flying. It's great talking to you.
I know.
We was going to go through 4, but
I mean, quiet in my house too. My kids are either very well behaved right now, or something's horribly wrong.
Something's wrong.
We'll find out shortly.
I'll tell you what about there we go, Forest. And this was, am I right in saying, part of Unreal Engine, you were given an asset pack to make a short from. Yeah. That was right for this, wasn't it? So this is a very heartfelt short.
I wanted to kind of venture out into the idea of grief, and maybe it's Game of Thrones that did it to me, but I'm really fascinated by intensity and the emotion that a story and filmmaking can pull out of you when you don't get what you typically, or you don't get what you want. You're not given the ending that we're so used to with traditional storytelling and fairy tales, and especially in fantasy and stuff, where the good guy beats the bad guy, or in this case where the father does defeat the monster, and it just is a little bit just too late to stop a tragedy. So I wanted to touch on that. It's a very short time to put in the full story that I had storyboarded out, and this was the first time I had really storyboarded something start to finish, because I knew I only had a month to do this. I also went to Mexico for a week and a half in the middle of it, so my time was super limited. And I did the storyboards and just went for it. So 2 metahumans, a provided creature to kind of be the antagonist there in the environment itself. So that was a workflow wise, a fairly quick environmental setup, a lot of focus on the cloth simulation for the close-ups and the character shots, where I know I wanted emotion to be the focus of it.
So that competition, can you just tell us about that? You were given a month, you won it. What was the prize for this competition, out of interest?
Yeah, it was 30 days or so. We had a time to plan, which was nice, but we didn't know exactly what assets we were getting yet and everything. But yeah, 30 days, like I said, I took a vacation in the middle of it and got right back to work. It was great. I got a 1-year subscription to Faceware.
Nice.
Some Epic Marketplace credits, which still waiting on. John McInnes, the owner of the studio, was planning to make a compilated short film in some way of these scenes, or maybe just one area of these scenes. So he's also offered there's a $2,000 deferred fee if your film is chosen for that. That's not a bad bonus and potential prize even down the road for completing something like that. So if anybody out there is thinking about competing in any of these small competitions, even if you feel like you're out of your depth, which I constantly, feel like, imposter syndrome and everything, it's absolutely worth it. It felt special to win that, and
amazing.
It kind of came in at a really cool time for me, where I just posted a video called the Argonaut on LinkedIn, which I'd never used until I started doing 3D stuff, and has proved a very valuable tool for me to find and connect with people and work. But that was blowing up. 80 Level covered it, and on the same day 80 Level posted that article, I got the email that I had won the competition, and then I had gotten a message from a studio from Baltimore reached out and said they were working on a feature-length film in Unreal. They saw my LinkedIn post and would love to bring me in to see how we'd work together, and that is where I currently am now as the lead cinematographer for that film. So that competition win was like all came together at the same time.
So good.
I'm very lucky and very fortunate and very thankful too.
Well, you know what? You put the work in, Connor. So, you put it in, put in the hard work, and you get the result. So, it's all down to you and, the family allowing you to, supporting. So, well deserved, Connor. And
thanks, man. I appreciate that. And this is like asking every Canadian if they've heard of Nickelback, but maybe not exactly the same. But have you heard of Sleep Token? Band. I only ask because UK, I know it's very broad. They put out a few songs recently. One of them, I'm working on a music video now in an unofficial capacity. The Summoning.
Oh, we've got that on here actually. I was going to touch on that.
Yeah.
A lot of facial performance.
Not an entire facial performance here. We're really just working nose and below, which has allowed me to focus on improving my mouth, and that's definitely been like a big aspect of the Uncanny Valley thing with MetaHumans and Unreal is the mouth and subtleties in the mouth. So yeah, the song it's a fantastic song. It's really inspired me in kind of visually as I listened to it, what a video would look like for it, and really just what was kind of playing through my head as I listened to it. And the whole concept of the band itself, they're like an anonymous band that, masked and painted in ways. And then somehow just not gimmicky whatsoever. And I really bought into their concept. So I wanted to make a video on it. And as I created the character and did some MetaHuman skin texturing, the ball was rolling, and it went from this is a fun concept to I'm going to do this whole thing on as my next personal project. The video itself is a very simple scene where I've done the facial animation because it's just him standing in fairly, an empty space with some fire VFX in the background and a 5-point lighting system. Yeah, so I got a bridge. This is initially the pre-made map by Epic Goddess Temple, and I really love the bridge to like a broken down cliff concept, and it worked really well in the story that I was writing. So I have this all set up here with a bunch of lights. Starts to transform into something else, and Stephen Fauche's Easy Fog, if I can plug that, is
Easy Fog,
super cool tool.
So
I just finally used it. I had the chance to use it in this project, and all the fog scattering cards everywhere are fantastic, and I'm a huge fan of them. It's not been impossible to get fog into your scenes before this, but it's the ease of customization and doing it super cool. But I have a bunch of stuff in here that I was working on last night and continue to work on with plot dynamics and close-ups.
They look cool.
Animation.
Very cool, man.
And I'm very excited to see this go on. And there will be a big battle scene. A lot of stuff I learned making the Mage will be put to use here on this land bridge. I'm trying to constantly be aware of what looks good in a film compared to what looks good in like a game cinematic, and trying to bridge the gap between those two, where I'm not trying to fool anybody. because at the end of the day, there's still a lot of giveaways with Unreal itself as a renderer.
Maybe a future episode, part 2 with yourself, Connor, to talk about,
I
that
talk a
project
lot,
and when it's
so
finished.
probably if you'll have me.
It'd be absolutely, man. We can get you back on and we can talk about that project maybe specifically. Would be great because it's looking ace, man. Advice for anyone stepping into the world of Unreal Engine to make a short film, maybe for the first time, like yourself. Any advice that you can give?
I would say if I could go back and tell myself anything as I'm kind of learning this stuff, is that is make as much as you can, because for everything that you make that's bad, I promise there will be at least one or more lessons you learn from it.
That's a good piece of advice for sure. That's great.
Yeah. And just support other creators.
Yes, that's important for sure, man.
Yeah, 3D is super small. You see incredible stuff on YouTube, Vimeo, and it'll blow your mind, and you'll think like this must be huge, like this is massive, and you'll go down the bottom of the video and see 3,500 views, and you're like, this is Hollywood level. Like this is better than half the movies that were put out in the last 5 years, or these sequences. And the more you support each other, and we can hold each other up, the bigger this will all get, and the happier everybody will be.
Nice, man. Yeah, that flew by actually, and that was an absolute pleasure talking to you, Connor. It was fascinating.
Absolutely,
so
man.
I really appreciate your time. And
thanks for having me.
I just want to say all the best with personal projects, professional projects, anything that you do inside and outside Unreal Engine. All the best, Connor.
Thanks, Jamie. I appreciate it, man. All right, man.
Okay. Cheers, Connor. Have a good day, man.
Yep. You too, bud.
Bye, buddy.
See ya.
Bye, mate.